We're doing two college football player props here on PrizePicks for Saturday, October 21st. Before I get started, you guys, take a look in the description below. You can hop into our premium Discord, $9.30 per month. It's where I post all the plays I'm making on PrizePicks. We also have other premium cappers in there as well that post all of their plays, research, and analysis. Like I've talked about in every video, super positive community. Everyone in there just really trying to help each other cash on these slips here. I also do need to mention I'm not a gambling expert and this is not financial advice. These are simply plays I'm personally looking at making. Hopefully give you guys some insight and analysis to then make your own player prop decisions here. No one is pressing submit on those parlays other than yourselves. But let's get right into it, you guys. College football Saturday. Obviously we're seeing not a ton of plays on the board currently. Like I actually already posted my Saturday Week 8 college football plays in the Discord, premium Discord. But two free plays here for this video. Like I've talked about before, really for these videos targeting quarterbacks, not really targeting wide receivers or running backs in these specific scenarios, and definitely targeting the later type of games here. As you know, this video is coming out Friday night. I want to give ample time for everyone if they are watching this video. And they do like the props to get those in. So let's not waste any time. Let's just get right into it. The first play is going to be a fantasy score. It's going to be Heinrich Haarberg, the quarterback for Nebraska. I like his over 17.5 fantasy score here against Northwestern. So he's not recently, but he's the full-time starter now. And since becoming the starter, has gone over this line in 3 of 4 games, with one miss coming against probably one of the best defenses in the country at Michigan. And actually interesting that they're saying now Michigan apparently cheated in this game. But 29, 29, and then 19 fantasy score for those 3 other games here for Haarberg. And we take a look at Haarberg. Like I said, he's a dual threat quarterback, absolute dual threat quarterback. You can look at these rushing stats since becoming the starter: 98 rushing yards and a touchdown, 157 rush yards and a touchdown. Had -2 here against Michigan, obviously super tough matchup. Still threw for 199, and then he's got at Illinois on the road here. It still ran for 82 yards and a touchdown. So in getting these rushing attempts, 21, 19, and 18. Obviously here helping his fantasy score tremendously. But in a matchup versus Northwestern, we take a look at this game. And home game for Nebraska, 10.5 point favorites for Nebraska, 41 over under here. So, you know, they're projecting around 30 points for Nebraska in this game with this offense. And Northwestern just gives up a ton of points to the quarterback position overall, and just total points, just a ton of explosive plays and a ton of offense. You can see here Northwestern, the second most total rushing touchdowns to the quarterback position. Kind of down here as far as passing yards, right? But they've only played 5 games, so you can't really attribute that too much. But fantasy points per game, you guys, Northwestern, the 5th most fantasy points per game, and that's only through 5 games, you guys. Mind you, Purdue's played 7, so that average is going to be obviously a little bit higher. But through 5 games, 22.9 fantasy points through 5 games. We look at over on Outlier, you guys. Again, this is a research tool that I use every single day. He's over obviously 0.5 pass touchdowns, -350. Over 0.5 touchdowns, which is essentially a rushing touchdown for him, -165. Over 52.5 rushing yards, -137. So obviously all of these lines, and then again under 0.5 interceptions, -166. All of these lines positively correlate to his fantasy score at 17.5. I think it's a great spot for him. We look at other quarterbacks and kind of other similar quarterbacks that have somewhat of some rushing ability, right? Ethan Kalimakis, the quarterback for Minnesota, who, again, to me isn't as talented as Haarberg here against Northwestern. At Northwestern on the road, he finished with 17.5 fantasy. And, I mean, you can look at, he hasn't really come close to that. It's one of his best games of the season. He had 4 rushing attempts for 34 yards. Wouldn't really consider him specifically a rushing quarterback. Did throw 2 touchdowns against that Northwestern defense. Look at Riley Leonard, who, again, a dual threat quarterback, right? Can definitely use his legs. Against Northwestern, 97 yards on the ground and 2 rushing touchdowns. Also threw for 219 in the air. Finished with 30.5 fantasy points, right? So a dual threat quarterback had his best game of the season in Riley Leonard against Northwestern. We look at another quarterback here. Gavin Wimsatt, who is a quarterback for Rutgers, right? He's not really, I would consider him a dual threat quarterback. You can see these rushing yards here. And against Northwestern, 33 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. Had one of his better games of the season, finishing with 19.8 fantasy. So if we take a look at this line, that got him 19.8 fantasy of 163 in the air, 1 passing touchdown, and then 33 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. This is absolutely a line you can see here that I think Haarberg can, without question, replicate in this game. And that gives him essentially a 2-point cushion at 19.8 from 17.5 is what his line is set at. And then we look here as well at Drew Allar, who is not a rushing quarterback here, in my opinion. Penn State quarterback against Northwestern on the road, finished with 18 fantasy. Obviously, he doesn't need to do a ton in that offense, but he threw for 189 in the air, and also had 8 rushing attempts for 4 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. So, I mean, Harburg, I think without question, could easily finish with a line of 189, 1 passing touchdown, 4 rushing yards, and a rushing touchdown. Just keep in mind, you guys, like Harburg has had absolutely crazy rushing games. You can see here 98, 50, 157, and 82 since becoming the starter, seeing 18, 19, and 20 rushing attempts. He's pretty elusive out there overall, and obviously, like I said, all of the odds here favor this fantasy score line, with Vegas projecting Nebraska to score 30-plus points in this matchup at home. So Harburg is going to be the first play. The second play here is going to be another quarterback fantasy score play. It's going to be Tyler Van Dyke over 15.5 against Clemson. Now, I think people see Clemson, and they think this could be a tough matchup, and I do think it is going to be a tough matchup, but you can see here, Tyler Van Dyke, 33, 25, 24.7, 12 against Georgia Tech, and 28.24 last week against North Carolina. Now, I would say in comparison to these 4 teams, right, the toughest defense of these 5 teams, that he's faced is Texas A&M, and he finished with 33.76 fantasy points against them. We look at Tyler Van Dyke, right, having an absolute bounce-back season here. He's ready to go. I guess he got injured in the previous week. He's going to be ready to go in this game, and coming off a game against North Carolina where he threw for 391 yards, 4 touchdowns, and still threw 2 interceptions, and still finished with 31.2 fantasy points in that matchup. Has just played extremely well so far this season. If we go back to last year, right, played decently, but then got hurt, kind of had an up and down year. But going back to 2021, right, Tyler Van Dyke cleared this line in almost every single game he started back in 2021. 18.7, 21.1, 29.1, 29.4, 29.7, 30.7, 31.5, and 32.8. This is a home game for Tyler Van Dyke. You can see his 3 highest scoring games back here in 2021 were at home. We go back to 2022. 3 of his 4 highest scoring games were at home, and then even this season hasn't, right? This season, 2 of his 3 highest scoring games at home as well. Texas A&M, 30-plus fantasy points at home versus Texas A&M. I definitely think here Tyler Van Dyke and the the Miami offense is going to have to throw the ball, right? We take a look at the ACC and running back. Obviously, Clemson has a great defense regardless, but Clemson is allowing the fewest yards to the running back position. Only 353 total rush yards they've allowed to the running back position, and it's not like they have an absolute elite bell cow back as well, so it's going to put Tyler Van Dyke in a position to have to throw the ball. We look at Outlier here. Again, research tool that I use every single day. 7-day free trial with the link in the description below. He's currently on Caesars and on DraftKings minus 140, on Caesars minus 160 here to throw at least 2 passing touchdowns, over 1.5. Minus 160, like I said, he's thrown at least 2 passing touchdowns in 4 of his last 5 games, and like I said, 2 passing touchdowns definitely positively correlates to him getting close, at least close, putting himself in position to hit this 15.5 fantasy score line that he is set at currently right here. And then we just kind of look at some other quarterbacks that have faced Clemson. We look at Garrett Schrader, who recently faced Clemson. He finished with 16.6, right? 181 in the air, 2 passing touchdowns, an interception. Also ran for 24 rushing yards. But, I mean, that's a line that I think is very attainable for Tyler Van Dyke. Obviously, he won't have the 24 rushing yards, but I think he can supplement that with passing yards here. We look at Jordan Travis. Obviously, had a great game versus Clemson earlier in the season. At Clemson, had 25.4 fantasy points against them. 289 in the air and 2 touchdowns. Also ran for minus 2 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. So if you take away even the 6 points from that touchdown, just on 289 and 2 passing touchdowns, he smashed the over on this line. And then Riley Leonard as well had a good game against Clemson. 22.8 fantasy, 175 in the air. Also ran for 98 on the ground and 1 rushing touchdown. Which, again, like I said, Tyler Van Dyke's not going to be able to do that. But just given them having to throw the ball and how he's been playing, I definitely think 15.5 is too low, given how well he's played this season. I mean, he's had 24-plus fantasy points in 4 of his last 5. We get him at 15.5 here at home. I just think it's too low of a line. So 2 plays here for this YouTube video. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about these 2 plays. Again, if you like them, let me know in the comments below. If you don't, also let me know in the comments below. Drop a like on this video. Hit that subscribe button. As always, let's cash.